to someone else, and they're here to help you take it back. It's the Farm to Table Direct Show with Ryan and Keith.
Hello, everyone. This is Keith with the Farm to Table Direct Show. And of course, over here on my left is my brother, Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
And in the background, Mr. P, as usual, taking care of business in the background. Tonight, bro, we are going to be talking about exposing the thought police. Last week, we were getting into the overregulation of our food and talking about our buddy Joel Salatin and what he had opened up the Rogue Food Conference with. By the way, I like your shirt, bro. Can you hear me now? So anyway, tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about the food that you put into your mind. Last week we were talking about people controlling the food that we put in our body. But tonight we're going to be talking also about the food that we put in our mind and that they want to control that as well.
That's right. But well, anyway, as Keith was saying, like I said, I had a little technical difficulty on my end, had to shut some things down there real quick. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of a surprising part of the conference, bro, was just the fact that, we go down there, food, we're talking about how to make food, you got all these people, and then all of a sudden we're learning about really mind, kind of the thought police, mind control, kind of how they affect the narratives and things of that nature. So, I mean, it was actually a rather pleasant surprise as a part of the conference itself.
And the information is out there. I mean, you can find it easily. When you follow the history of what's gone on in the media, then hello, Rebecca. Welcome in, Rebecca, Touched by Yarn. And it's easy to find this information. It's surprisingly easy. And they even openly tell you that that's what they're doing. Right. And so, like I said, tonight we're going to be exposing the thought police. And we went down to Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. Yep. And we were part of the Rogue Food Conference. And she was one of the speakers that was down there, which is Holly Hickman. And we're going to be talking a little bit about Holly Hickman. Dakota, there in the background, can you pull up a picture of Holly Hickman? There you go. So there's me and Ryan down there with Holly Hickman. Now, bro, what do you remember about Holly Hickman and what was some of her background?
Well, I mean, she was, her statement was that, 9/11 happened. And she remembered, the stress and actually watching Peter Jennings on TV and how it kind of helped her. And that inspired her to want to be a part of the media. And so she went and pursued the degrees, pursued the education, and got into the what we would call mainstream media, got into reporting, journalism. And they, she worked Fox News. She worked for, I think, ABC as well, and or see one of them, and did a lot of writing, traveled different places, and really an insider, if you will, spending time in that world. But she eventually just had to walk away from it. It became too much.
So she was kind of uniquely qualified to tell us about the underbelly of the media because she was in it. She was a part of the machine, working for Roger Ailes with Fox News. For Roger Ailes, I guess. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I think she worked, there. I know she worked at Fox, and I think it was, at the main there with Roger, but I know she knew who he was. She kind of, she didn't get too deep into the relationships with people, but yeah, she worked there under, during the time Roger Ailes had that, and, what he, the changes he made even, and we'll get into in the news as we know it.
Right. And so just a little housekeeping here before we get completely started, waiting for more people to come in. Just want to say that this is a live chat event, and this is where we let our beloved friends who speak up in chat be a part of the show. Not just be a part of the show, but direct it. Which way is it going to go? We never know. We do prepare for these things, and we we make a show flow about what we're going to talk about for the day. But you, our beloved friends in chat, are able to change the direction of the show according to what we see and read in the chat. So just want to put that out there. And so I want to open this up by saying something.
Hit us with it, man.
All right. I'm going to ask a question, and that is, where did the American breakfast come from?
American breakfast?
Yeah, what would you call the American breakfast?
Oh, well, like, eggs, bacon or sausage, maybe some hash browns or some grits or some biscuits and gravy, but yeah, that's what I'd call.
Well, in tonight's show, we're going to expose where exactly that came from, because it might be a little surprising to some that it wasn't always an American thing. In the past, they used to take a light breakfast. They thought light breakfasts were better than heavy breakfast. But we're going to find out later why it changed and who was instrumental in changing that in media. Yeah. So, but anyway, I want to kind of get back into, in tonight's show, and I want to take us in the direction of kind of the history of media.
Right. And that was a big part of the opening that the Holly brought in there, was kind of to give us a backstory, give us a little history. In fact, media, newspaper, we complain today of the biases of media, the obvious, or not biases, but prejudices, the obvious left-leaning, right-leaning, whatever. And we complain about that, but that's actually how they all really started, was opposing ideas, whether it was opposing candidates, opposing people. These papers actually, all the way back to Benjamin Franklin and that time frame, started as a way to get their voice out, their opponent against their opponents. And so it was one-sided, or it was from that one side. It wasn't till later that we kind of got the idea of the unbiased, or the neutral media, just the facts, ma'am,
Right.
and led us into the Associated Press, which actually began in like 1846, and the Mexican-American War was going on, and a guy by the name of Moses Yale Beach was publisher of the New York Sun, and he convinced the leaders of 4 other New York papers to invest in a network of couriers to bring information back. And that was really kind of the beginning origins of the Associated Press. And
right.
now we have, it was horseback, and then it went to telegraph lines, and, and then it's traveled around the world, and there's still to this day AP stations all around the world, and the AP is still often,
right. So we're gonna kind of take them back and then bring them a little bit forward. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in that, but right. Just to realize and try to understand, what happened to us.
Right.
It was during the Industrial Revolution, and and as the printing press, not the printing press, that was way back,
way before,
but it was still the printing press and everything. It become more mechanized, and paper become cheaper. They found cheaper ways to make paper, and they began to print in news. And they one of the things for entertainment that they did was what they called yellow journalism. I don't know if you remember that, bro.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where it was everything sensational, right? It wasn't really about just the facts like you were talking about. And then along came the New York Times, and the New York Times capitalized on that because people were hungry for things that were just fact-based. Right. And so the New York Times came in as they have a what do they call themselves? They are the I know it's the Gray Lady, but it's something else that they call themselves. But anyway, it's the basic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
the beginning, the kind of the standard and all that, and I mean, it's
right.
yeah,
And
and
so, um, and then I want to fast forward a little bit to after the New York Times made their stake at just telling it the news, just supposedly unbiased news, if
right,
there is such
and
thing,
that
right?
was where the APs was too. Was just we're sending out the facts. There's
Right,
or there's no one side or the other, neutral. And
right. And so um, Edward Bernays, do you remember that name, bro? Remember earlier,
yes,
I asked you, do you remember or do you know why we call it the American breakfast? And
right,
what is the American breakfast? Like I said, we used to think that breakfast was just something really light.
right.
Well, there was a company named Beech Nut, and it was they wanted to sell more bacon. So they approached
Bacon's
Edward Bernays, right? And so Edward Bernays uh, was very instrumental in getting people to say that, hey, bacon is a very good, healthy part of a breakfast. Eat a big breakfast, and it was propaganda, is what it was.
He's to blame. That's what you're saying. It's his fault.
Well, pretty much, but we bought it, right? We
Right.
bought it bacon in droves, so or in packs of whatever. But no, it was more than that. Let's discover who Edward Bernays actually is. Edward Bernays is was the nephew, he's no longer with us now. Uh, he was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. All
Okay.
right. And so this is up on the screen. You see the propaganda, the greatest works of Edward Bernays. And that was the forerunner to what they call public relations now.
Right.
All right. So public relations was just a nicer way of saying propaganda because propaganda has a negative connotation. But what it was psychological control. Now, there was something else that Edward Bernays was famous for. He was approached by a cigarette company,
Huh.
and I think it was Lucky Strikes.
Oh, yeah.
And what had happened was is that was a men's. Men participated in that mostly,
Right.
and of course, Lucky Strike wanted that they could enter into the market with women. Right. The problem is that people perceive that as not good for women. Right.
Right.
So what he did is he went, if I remember right, to about five. Let's see, which one was it? Now, this lady that you see on the screen right there, you notice that she's wearing emerald green. Okay. So they had identified that women didn't think that it was, well, in our terms, cool to smoke. So
Right.
what he did
Fashionable.
is he said, well, what you need to do is green is not a women's color. You need to change that.
Right.
So as opposed to changing that, they said we can't really afford to change all of our, everything in our packaging and all of that. So what Edward Bernays did is he contacted the fashion industry to make the color green very fashionable for women. That color green.
Huh.
And now you're seeing that color green is the same color as the one on the pack. And just want to say hello to Greg and Donna Duncan over there.
Yep.
Hello, Greg. Hello,
Family.
Donna.
That's right.
Yeah, and so they begin to show the women in media pictures of other women who are well known smoking cigarettes, and that color green was a color that the women wanted to do. So it was fashionable for them to carry around a pack of the green Lucky Strike cigarettes. This was the work of Edward Bernays. Okay. And so one of the things that Edward Bernays said was that it's okay to do propaganda as long as your intentions are good and you're leading people in the right direction.
Yeah.
According to who?
Yeah. According to who? Right. Exactly.
Right.
According right according to who, and I think he was right according to who was paying the bill, but
Right.
yeah, would seem like, but I mean that, and that's kind of that early, history of kind of, how things kind of began to work in this thought police, but as the media progressed, television came on the scene. All right. And there were people who didn't think it would work, and people called it the one-eyed devil, that
They
came out.
weren't far wrong.
They weren't far off, but and pretty soon, I mean, remember we'd have, because newsreels started in the movie theater. People would go to the movie theater and watch newsreels before the movies. Well, TV comes along, and then we have news, and it's a little bit, but cable television. We fast forward to the '80s. Cable television came out, and we're doing all this stuff, and it's like, she shared that the thought was that people didn't want to watch news 24 hours a day. Because remember the TV going off at midnight, national anthem, the little, color
Oh
bars,
yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
over.
I know there's some other people over in chat that remember that too.
Absolutely.
I guarantee it.
I mean, you watched it all the way to the national anthem or the mid, and it went off air or whatever. And I mean, that was it. Well, along comes cable network, cable net TV, and it's on 24 hours. And, they said, no, it'll never sell. It'll never sell. And, that crazy guy, Ted Turner and that little 3-letter agency we know as CNN, was created, Cable News Network, and we may say Communist News Network now, but, or No News Network, I don't know. But anyway, but but they come out and lo and behold, people wanted to watch, and, one of the things she shared, I think was very important, was that in a 24-hour news cycle, you have to feed that monster. So, accuracy becomes less, standards get lowered, and you brought up Roger Ailes, you brought up Fox News comes along, and well, how did you put it? They bring in the blondes and the long legs and the,
That's it. Yeah.
and all of a sudden you got ratings, and all of a sudden now news is a big thing. And it's led us to where we are now, where I don't know. I mean, what we went through, I shared with you this earlier, bro, what we went through to get back here. I mean, the last several years with the media and everything's not been pleasant, no doubt about it, and how they've been weaponized or used by certain people. But we now know where people stand. We know what they are. If you're paying attention, you know what side. And so, okay, just own that. Be what you are,
Right.
But, I mean, we talked about, some of the comments earlier this week from Elon Musk and from some others about, the independents. We're now the media, we're now the trusted.
We are the media now.
We're the trusted media source, not the mainstream.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to make a point there. And again, before I make that point, I want to go back, and just for those who are just joining us, I want to tell you that what the show's about is the food we put in our mind.
Yep.
All right.
The brain.
Last week, the Rogue Food Conference, we were talking about the regulators regulating the food that we can put in our body and who we buy that from.
Right.
All right. We need to be careful about who we get our news from, because they're the ones that's feeding our mind. And we're here mostly to point out that it was not unintentional, that it would be a psychological operation on us. And we are exposing that to you right here tonight. Excuse me. And we had just covered Edward Bernays, who was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, who came in, and he was heavily involved with propaganda of the United States of America. All right. Admittedly. And so just kind of, like I said, bringing you back up, and then I was going to make a point about what you were saying. Oh, about what was in the news today. So we're up, we go through all of those stages to where we think that most of the media is objective. Well, we begin to learn that it's not so objective, and that it has actually been hijacked by powerful people, right? So, and I think most people that's in our audience already know that. They see it, they feel it, and all of that. But just wanted to say that right after the election, I don't know how many people here listen to Glenn Beck, but right after the election, he said the media is dead. The mainstream media is dead. That would be the last time that we seen a presidential debate on mainstream media. Because now he said it's going to be more like on Joe Rogan and places that are like that, right? And and so, is that true? I don't know. It still remains to be seen. But what Elon Musk came out and said this week was that you guys are the media right here on X. We are the new media. Well, the uh, what club is that called? It's like the journalist club or the press club.
Yeah, something like that.
Had a real fancy roundtable dinner and everything, and had a speaker up there that said that I have something to say to Elon Musk. He said that they were the new media. He said, but that is BS.
Yeah.
And of course, the crowd erupts, cheering that part on and everything. But I don't think Elon Musk cares about that.
Right.
Is he correct? Well, probably so. Well, what are the dangers of this new form of media? Remember the question that we asked Holly Hickman, okay? And that's who we're talking about tonight, folks, is a speaker at the Rogue Food Conference named Holly Hickman. And we asked her, I said, how do we not become a part of the problem?
Right.
And of course, she listened to us and everything, and she said, "No, I don't think you guys are part of the problem, um, by just listening to you, because we're concerned that we try to tell the truth to people,
Right.
right?"
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, and it goes right in hand with something that Joel said down there. The idea that anybody in media, whether it's print, whether it's television, internet, what we do, anything, the idea that there's not bias is foolish.
Right.
Everybody's biased in some way. You have your background, how you were raised, all those things create natural biases, things you favor. But what is not tolerable is prejudice. That you're prejudiced against a particular group or a particular political party, your particular ideology, that you allow that prejudice to cloud your judgment and to cloud what you do and how you present a story or how you do those things. That's where he was going after, and it is so much of what goes on, and I heard it recently. It's been some time back, but recently, about the idea with YouTube and the idea with modern, with all the modern internet and stuff, that the best thing about it is anybody can have a show, anybody can record a song, anybody can do these things. The bad is anybody can have
Anybody
a show.
can.
It
Yeah,
goes both
yeah,
ways.
that's right.
And I think that's it. But uh, something she said, and I have in the notes, is discernment requires correct information. So if we're not getting correct information or we're not getting the complete information, how are we able to discern what is good, bad, what is, uh,
What is the truth, bro?
it's it. Well, what is the truth?
And
You know,
who's telling it? Tell
right,
me, anybody out there in our audience, if you haven't felt this, who do you listen to? It's hard to know these days.
right,
Which side of the argument, do you fall on? Is it biased according to your own wishes, your own experience, or you just I like these people better than I like those people. I don't know, or do we even think like that? I know I do.
right. Well, and I think you're right there. I mean, it's people have a deep natural hunger for the truth. I will tell you this: that anything outside of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is subjective.
Right.
He
Mhm.
is the truth, but as far as what we refer to as the truth of correct information, and actual factual data or correct, yeah, I mean, that's what people want. They want to know the truth, Well, most people want to know the truth, but I think naturally there's a deep hunger for it. Now, what set of lenses are you looking at that through? You know, I can set it with somebody who has a total different ideology or a total different upbringing, and we're going to look at the same statement totally different. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, but I mean, that's why the failure of the guardians, if you will, the fourth estate of the government, the failure to protect themselves, the failure to remain, you know, objective, has actually betrayed the American people, and people don't know. That's why we're so divided. Part of the reason we're so divided, we'll get into more of that and why it was actually by intent. But I mean, you know, if you think everything that comes across CNN or one of them is, any of the mainstream is not bad, well, then you're wrong, But I mean, it's you're not looking at things through a set of clear lens that, the old Reagan said, trust but verify, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, and just want to say hello to Janae and thank you for sharing all of that stuff. And my niece, Rachel Grafley, is
Yeah,
in here with us, and thank you for joining us. And it's
yep,
experiences and lessons learned individually that impact our views and beliefs. And I agree with that.
yep.
I do. What is our experience level? In other words, whenever I was a teenager, I had a certain set of ideas about the way the world was. Boy, did I learn different as I got a little bit older. And so I would say that I would probably be a little left of center when I first did. I listened to NPR. Don't tell anybody.
Shh.
But yeah, and Rachel also said research. Yeah, that's exactly right. Don't listen to anyone. Figure this out for yourself. If you don't, if you think that we are a trusted source, then listen to us. But even with that, I would say we're not infallible.
Oh no, absolutely not. And how they. Good evening, Chris. And Rachel's laughing at NPR. But
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I mean, it is so much of that. I mean, uh, you know, mine and yours influences go back, 30 plus years, I mean, and uh, as far as our political influences and things of that nature, they go like a long ways. But our
mhm,
upbringing influences, are even more so. And I mean, that's, and then, yeah, there comes a time in every person's life that they have to decide for themselves, you know, what they believe, what they feel, how they think, apart and separate from their parents, apart and separate from how they were raised or what their environment was. And so I think that's true for everybody. And we have to do that. But if what's being put in front of you is with a purpose and somebody is, uh, controlling that or crafting that in a way that shapes how you see it, you know, then, is it really free thought? Are you really actually thinking on your,
right.
or are you puppeting or mimicking what was fed to you? You know what I mean? You listen to a child that speaks and says words they shouldn't know at their age. Well, they learned that somewhere. They heard that. They're mimicking, what they've learned. Well, we're no different. I'm going to highlight that comment because it's absolutely true. Janae, trust in the Lord, lean not on our own understanding, but all our ways acknowledge Him. He shall make our path straight.
Mhm.
Absolutely, Amen. And it is that, and the gift of discernment, if you will, not only in spiritual matters, but in all things, is an important thing. But again, it does require correct information. But bro, if you're ready, let's jump into fail.
Yeah, let's jump
Let's
into
learn
fail.
let's learn how to fail.
Right. Let's learn how FAIL, which is an acronym. What's it
Okay.
an acronym for, bro?
Okay. It is for framing, angle, image, and language.
Right. And so I think we ought to break those down just a little bit as we go through. Now, this is again was what Holly Hickman, who was in media, uh, and well, I guess kind of still is. She has her own
She has her
blog and everything that she does. And she's also was a speaker at the Rogue Food Conference. Very effective. She says we should defund the thought police.
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right, I'm gonna let that sink in for just a minute. And I happen to agree with that. But so she's kind of uniquely qualified, coming from the belly of the beast, to tell us what she's seen there and how things kind of work behind the scenes.
Right.
And then we'll leave it up to you to decide whether you think you're being manipulated in media. But with the F in F.A.I.L, fail,
right.
We're talking about framing. Okay. And
Bro, do you want to work this backwards like she did, or do you want to?
do you want to do that? That's fine.
Yeah,
We can do that.
It kind of leads that back to it, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. So then language would be the one.
Right.
Yeah.
And she brought up, the and when she says language, is the words that are used. Now, she referenced the AP style book.
Has anybody heard of that?
I mean, I hadn't prior to sitting at that table and listening to her talk, but it's an actual book that the Associated Press puts out, and it is basically the media or the press, their thesaurus. They'll have phrases like, if you want to say something, they'll have an alternative way of saying it. They'll have different ways of saying the same sentence or the same thought, so that you can craft it in a way. So the language matters. Like, for example, biofortified. That was one that she brought up. Well, that's a fancy way of saying GMO or
synthetic meat, probably.
It's made in a lab. It's had things to mess with.
Right.
And then one is about being anti versus pro, and how that, using words like that, how if somebody's anti this or pro that, it can affect your viewpoint on a particular individual or a particular issue, and so using the language, what words we choose to use. We heard a lot in the last several years, words matter, and we've heard the politicians say words matter, and they do, because it impacts what we hear or what we read and take in. So if it's, if you're using language that sounds one way, I mean, boy, it sounds great. Biofortified. Boy, it sounds like it's made stronger. It's made better, when in reality is, no, it's just been messed with. They're trying to beat nature. All right.
Yeah.
But so that was really the way I took language. Bro, do you want to take image?
Right. So in image is how people are portrayed. For example, raw milk, they with an image, they can link it with bird flu using images.
Right.
I don't know exactly how you do that, except that well, let me just put it this way. If you listen to the left media and you see a picture of Donald Trump, you're going to see him with shadows on the wrong side of the face, and you're going to see him portrayed as Hitler, or you're going to see him portrayed as something in a negative connotation, right? We've all seen that. To where if you are on the right media and you see Donald Trump, you will see this man practically with a halo. But they will take an image and they will try to influence the way that you think about a person or a topic through images. And that's basically what we're talking. Now, we're talking about what the mainstream media or media uses in order to influence our minds. All right. Again, F.A.I.L. And we just covered the L and the I of that. And the next one, bro.
Yes.
Angle.
Angle. That involves context. Is the best way to, the angle in which something, the context, the who, the what, the when, the where, access, what access is it allowing you in? What access are we giving somebody to a particular story? I mean, if you're only showing one side, you're only giving that access to people. And then also, and part of that going with that is, excuse me, where I'm at. Does it ignore context? Does the storyline, does it ignore that? Because if they're setting the right angle, they're telling you who's doing something based on a particular angle. Well, that's what you're going to see. Same thing with what, when, where it happened. That controls how they portray that angle, can totally reframe a story to affect you positively or negatively. And so, I mean, that's, and that leads back to framing, and I'll be honest with you, Keith and I struggled with
The difference.
the difference between framing and angle, you know,
Right.
you know,
Um, and, in the notes down here, we've got being pro science as opposed to being anti science.
right.
Okay. So I'm going to go back up to the AP style book, for example.
Mhm.
It's kind of the book that guides the media and what they can and cannot say.
Right.
So we used to say pro-life
Yep.
or pro-choice.
Right.
Well, they changed that to
Anti-health, anti-women's health.
right,
I think it's
anti-women's health and women's health.
right.
You see what you do there with just the way that they frame that in order to get you to think in a certain way. The good news, folks, is that we are, as the media now, able to release some of the stranglehold that the people who were completely in control of what we heard and what we seen, um, and so that we can make our own decision. And that's what this is really all about. This is really all about um, you being able to be free, uncensored, to listen to whatever you want to listen to, and then make a rational decision. Going back to, you got to have good information to make good decisions.
Right. And now that we're in the information age, I mean, information as at a fingertip. We have more access to information right here, than we've ever had in the history of the world. I mean, everything is minute. I mean, it's seconds away. You can find stuff out, which is what made it mind-boggling for me when these people on the mainstream or these people on political whatever, they're setting up here trying to tell us what's going on when all evidence and everything is to the contrary. I remember during the during previous administration, during some of the civil unrest that was happening, right?
Mhm.
You know, reporters standing there saying it's a mostly peaceful protest while a building is burning in the background.
I think everybody remembers that.
Right. Everybody kind of remembers that, but it's kind of that
Like what?
set up.
Wait a minute, what?
And it's like you're asking us to ignore what we're seeing,
And accept what you're saying.
right? And it's not there anymore. And I think that's uh, everybody's a reporter now. Everybody's got a camera. Everybody's got the ability to record, the ability to post things on socials, things of that nature. So, our access to information, there's stories we would never know about if it wasn't for alternative medias or independent people, putting it on the internet, having shows, having podcasts, doing what we do. I mean, you wouldn't get that. Maybe you wouldn't get that information. You'd only be hearing what they wanted you to hear.
Right.
And a complete picture of F.A.I.L and a complete picture of what we're talking about is the biotech industry, okay, biotechnology,
Mhm.
and that affects food, that affects big pharma, that affects all different aspects of these things that we follow, and the media is helping to frame this image. Right. When we talk about framing, they frame this image that lab is good. All right. Things raised in lab are safe, freeze, no animals were harmed in the making of this product,
Mhm.
whatever. And whereas natural is bad, cow
Right.
farts are now a part of global warming. The, you know, too much of this and too much of that. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for people. Oh, if it's not processed a certain way, if it's not treated a certain way, it's got to be bad. Raw milk is bad. Because people can get sick with raw milk. You know. Well, a newsflash for you: if you've been drinking is pasteurized milk, and you go drink some raw milk,
Yeah, you're going to have a
probably gonna not like you, but you can get used to it.
yeah.
You know, you got to go through that period, but it's that simple thing there. Well, how that's framed, and like I said, biotech's a multi-billion-dollar industry, maybe trillion, I don't know, but it's huge. So they have a lot of influence, and they've, you
Mhm.
know, something that was talked about recently, is how much pharma controls. Uh, um, yeah, Greg, that's thinking about how W gathered around the radio to get news. The old
Mhm.
history, if somebody in the neighborhood had a radio, everybody gathered around that radio to hear what was going on.
Yep.
And you know, things have definitely changed from there. But big pharma, those type of things. Well, they buy ads like crazy. They spend, and so a large portion of a television outlets income is from those ads, from advertising. Well, if those people are your bread and butter and they're funding your operation, are you really going to cut the cash cow off? Probably not. And so, that's where a lot of these industries control that.
All right.
And
Was
that's
you aware, bro, that it was Craigslist
no,
who took away ad revenue from newspapers?
it makes sense to me. I can believe that
Yeah.
even on
Back in the
Facebook.
90s is when that started.
Yeah, when Craigslist started, and
Yeah.
you didn't have to pay to advertise anymore. You could go,
Right.
and I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a simple little thing like that can decimate.
Yeah.
I was
Right.
talking
So,
anyway.
yeah. So, I point out that to point out this is that, you know, innovation changed the way that we receive information.
Right,
Right.
absolutely.
And so, and it had taken some of the power out of the hands of the big, powerful newspapers, and again, it goes all back to who you can trust and be careful about the food you put in your mind. And, especially as it relates to, what are we learning now that I had no idea about growing up is that the food pyramid,
It's a
it's
sham.
not, it's not right. It wasn't even an invention until the 70s.
Yeah, late '70s at that, when
Right.
and that it had everything all out of whack. And now they're in the process of redoing it. It's updated every 5 years, and the people that are in charge of they're leading the studies on this. Their motto right now is plant forward. So they're wanting to promote plant based stuff. And again, meats and proteins are getting pushed, you know, pushed out, or pushed down,
Right.
if you want to put it. But I mean, so I mean, uh, again, those who are studying now, I mean, hopefully, you know, promises are kept and things are allowed to happen in the next, you know, period of time, that maybe some of that stuff can be reversed. I shared it on our Facebook. I think it was on Facebook. No, I shared it on our YouTube community page. Go out and check it out. Whether you like them, whether you don't, doesn't matter. I mean, whatever. But RFK Jr. has a podcast. Go out and search that out. He had Joe Salatin on his podcast, and I haven't finished listening to it all because it's pretty lengthy. But I mean, these two great minds that are, trying to bring us back to what's healthy and trying to bring us back to a better way of living are now, they know each other and they're collaborating. They're talking to each
Mhm.
other at least. And so I mean, that's a huge. When I seen that, I'm like, wow, okay, here we go. They're getting on the same page. And so I think that's going to be a beneficial, even though we might not enjoy the process
Right.
of switching how we eat and how we drink. And I say that as somebody who is right there in the system of some of the things I put in my body and eat and drink on a daily basis, and trying to figure out ways to get away from that, or get myself to go through it. But anyway,
Mhm.
but that's just some of that stuff that is happening out there that
Right.
makes. Now,
So
bro,
once again, I'll just say that we got to be careful where we get our food. We
absolutely.
also have to be careful where we get our news.
Right. And I don't know if we share this. I don't know. this was the stage there at Rogue Food. Their motto was come and tag it. But that was Holly up on the stage speaking there, and how do I get back to what I was doing? Here we go. There we go. Nope, that's not it.
Go back up to the one that says welcome.
Go back up there.
There
There we go. All right. See, I'm learning how to operate these controls too. But anyway.
Yeah. So I think that we pretty much got our message out tonight as to what I wanted to say.
Now, I'll give a couple of things. The last couple of notes. I just want to hit them real quick. And this is just, I guess you might say homework. You might say.
Okay.
Anyway, Josh is coming in a little bit late. She was making fun of your dad for listening to NPR back in the day, not where she gets her research.
No, I thought I was being very smart.
Being very smart. But little homework.
Boy, was I dumb.
Yeah, a little homework for our friends. Landsat 2030 and natural asset companies. Let's just say that Landsat 2030, the best. I mean, you might be able to explain it better than me, but basically, it's satellites that are out there that are able to look through different layers, look at the lands, look at different things going on. Now, natural asset companies, I researched that. That is basically where natural assets are becoming a tradable commodity. Versus, my bad. But anyway, so. Natural resources, natural assets, things of the land and things like that are being able to be tradable assets, versus, how now before you had to buy hard land, that kind of thing. I don't understand it all. I just know that it doesn't, everything that I've, good night, Rebecca. Hope you have a great week and a blessed and happy Thanksgiving over there. It's
with Landsat, are we still on Landsat?
Yeah. Let's.
Okay. I just want to say a little bit about that. I had to learn a little bit more about that. And so I went out and was watching something that was actually from the Landsat program. They have different years like Landsat 2009. And the one we're talking about is Landsat 2030. And now what the endeavor is they've got, instead of one satellite that's collecting all of this data and having several different, what did we say? There were like 15 different sensors that they're using to map the entire planet.
Right. And Mr. P is about to bring something up here in a minute from NASA.
NASA, Landsat 2030. Yeah.
NASA, no such agency. No, that's NSA.
Right.
Landsat Next, expected to launch in late 2030, early 2021. Innovative Landsat mission. It represents a quantum leap in measurement capabilities, improved temporal, spatial, and spectral resolutions, blah, blah, blah. Data user needs support evolving and emerging applications while maintaining Landsat data continuity and quality of the longest space-based record of Earth's land surface. So,
okay. On the face of it, what's wrong with that, bro? Anything?
On the face of it, it doesn't. It says, hey, they're just watching what's going to. Basically, they're just tracking what's happening on the surface of the Earth. But when you get down, satellite observation, equally spaced in orbit, about triple constellation, a 6-day revisit of any location, Earth's land and coastal regions, 5-year design, opposed to space. Let me see. To occupy sun synchronous orbit at altitude. Basically, but from what I understand, is it's going to allow them, and it basically allows them to kind of know what's going on, not only just on the surface, but maybe even subsurface.
And that's what I'm thinking, that these deeper sensor levels that they're able to use now,
and
excuse me, can actually see below the surface. And what that can be used by people who have the power to use that information would be to find deposits of things that you use in batteries, like lithium, different lithium mines, and how many regulations let me ask you this question. How many
Yeah.
farmers are going to lose their farm because somebody's seen something underneath their property?
Right.
I
Exactly.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
just asking. I don't know that that's what's going to happen, but it seems to me that that can definitely,
Well, right.
be misused, just like
Yeah.
media is misused.
Right. And so, I mean, that's just some of the stuff that was kind of a little tidbit that was added on and got our brains going on, you know, possibilities. But it's things like that where in the technological world and in the, space, these agencies, right? Yeah. And Mr. P put the link in chat. So you to go out and read that for yourself.
Right.
That's coming from NASA. So you're going to get the NASA, uh, spin on it. So
Their spin on it, right? It's going
I
to be
encourage
all
you to read
positive.
read other things. Go out. I mean, I just Google. I mean, I searched it. I just Google search Lancet. Same thing with with um, natural asset companies and that type of thing, where they're pushing. Well, if they can use this to find the natural assets under land, you know.
Hmm.
What does that do? How does that change things? But
Right.
so anyway, but back to wrapping up, kind of where we're at there. The information that you get fed, can this was said. I don't know if it was popular. I don't know if it'll be popular on here, but um, the media agencies are trying. They influence. If you're watching television, if you're watching anything, if you're on, you're being influenced by people, whether it's an advertisement and propaganda like we talked about with Edward Bernays, or whether it's through media, whether it's through news outlets, whatever it's coming from. And even, I mean, unintentional harm, but even, we're expressing our thoughts and our, concerns and our stuff, all these things are influences. So be on guard to what, is out there. As Rebecca, as Rachel said, research,
Hmm.
do your homework. We say that don't even take our word for it. Go look for yourself. Maybe you have a different opinion, but and I know it's we get into this stuff. It can get a little heavy. Some people like it, some people don't. But it's what's out there. It's we need to be aware of how
Right.
those systems operate so that we can operate ourselves and have a clear path to that operation. And
Right. And understanding that, if you don't want to dig deeper, I think just a simple little tagline, will suffice with the main message here tonight. And I said it a little bit earlier. Be careful where you source your food for your body, and be careful where you source the food for your brain.
and hey, don't be afraid to go rogue.
Yeah.
I got my T-shirt on from the conference tonight. That's why I got to go run. But anyway, bro, man, it's we I think we've gotten through everything that we had on it. We're kind of winding down.
Yeah. We
I
didn't
know.
have a whole lot of chatty people out there tonight,
No,
but
no, but I mean, well, a couple people got in and
is
said,
it maybe one of those topics,
yeah,
but
well,
anyway, it was one that I thought was highly important, for us
yeah,
to think about. We may be, like I say, we may be uh, preaching to the choir,
right.
but
Definitely appreciate those that came
let's go into just a little bit of what they can expect next week. We
next week.
will, mhm,
Where
John Moody.
Yes, John Moody. He was the other. I mean, he's the co-founder of Rogue Food Conference.
Mhm.
He is quite an interesting fella. Get a chance to go read up on John Moody. I mean, his own story. He is a farmer slash homesteader. The guy is well accomplished. He's a very smart guy, and his own health is what led him down this road.
Mhm.
And he speaks on some subject with a lot of what's going on. Now, his original topic there was going to be about RFID tags and how
Mhm.
they can use that to track livestock. And there were situations even overseas where they knew it. They went RFID. Well, guess what? The agencies knew where every cow and everything was, and they looked and said, "Well, there's too much of a concentration in this area. That's
Mhm.
causing these things," and they go seize the cattle. You
Yeah.
know, so I mean, that's just some of the dangers of that. But what he actually ended up talking about was a lot, was a lot more in depth, and it had to do with overreach. It had to do with the election, the possible outcome of that, the postings of the different cabinet positions and how that's going to affect things, you know, and, you know, he talks about social media. He talks about the government. He talks about, you know, different ways that we can affect change on a local level. So
Right.
I think it'll be useful information, you know, for all of us that are in the homesteading community and how we can truly affect change on a local level. Um, and what we can expect maybe going forward and so maybe even some of the how we can do that. So I think it'll be definitely worthwhile. You know, he's a funny guy for one, but a great speaker, but he's, you know, got a lot of good information that we were able to glean from his time. So that's that. That's next week. Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. We're still doing 7. Yep. We're still doing 7. No executive decisions to the contrary yet.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock right here, YouTube, Facebook, live as always. And we'll be going over that. So, you know, be sure and let everybody know. We're letting y'all know, let your friends know, let your neighbors know. And if you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe, follow, share, all of the above, and all the things that do what we do there on the social media. And
yeah, not just before we get off here,
Yep.
I want to say, you know, we are a part of a group that our schedules, as far as YouTube, is really full.
Oh, man.
And who's going on right after us is Leonard Mountain Homestead.
Yep.
And I want to respect them, and I want to try to get off so that anybody that's here might want to go on over to Leonard Mountain and check out, you know, Chris and Amy. So,
And I figure some have already jumped, I'm sure, but yeah.
Right.
But you know, yeah, definitely go check out Leonard Mountain. Go, like I said, Chris and Amy, they, you know, go over and hang out with them. We're trying to be mindful of that, as Keith said. So, you know, be supportive of channels. You know, you can go out to Webb's Web. I don't have that link. I wish I did. I had it in my phone, or I had it on my other device, but I don't have it here. But anyway, man. Sorry, I even brought it up now. But anyway, go out and find those lives that are out there, and you know, support those and be involved in the community. You know, I know that several of the people that were in our chat tonight are probably already out there at those places, are getting ready because that's what we do. But
yeah. So, and with that being said, I also, you know, want to say that we do a lot of preparation here for the show. We try to, you know, do something that's fairly well thought out and researched on our part.
Right.
And, but this is a show to where your opinion accounts. All our beloved friends here help to make the show. You get to make executive decisions. That's right. You can become part of the production if you enter chat. All right. So I just want to say,
you could pull the lid off the whole thing, drive the train right off the rails.
Yeah, you can make the show, or you can completely drive it off the rails.
But that's okay.
Yeah. So just want to let everybody know that.
Yeah.
And with that,
yeah, let's wrap this up. Thanksgiving, absolutely. This Thursday, or actually, I say even starts tomorrow from some people, but all the way through the weekend, turkey and dressing and all the fixings and ham and whatever else people like to eat. And, you know, of course, you know, the sports, the football will be on the TV for those who like that. But more importantly, a time to get together with family, get together with friends, and, you know, just time to I try to be thankful every day, but you know, that one time a year that we actually sit down to meal, you know, it's a big holiday in our family. We all come in and that can make it, and you know, and it's our big holiday. But we take time to just be a little bit thankful for the things. You know, I'm still thankful that we live in the greatest country ever, and you know, despite its problems, it's still the best to get going. And I'm thankful for my Lord and Savior, and you know, the blessings that he brings in our life every day. And so it's the time to do that. So as y'all go out and travel, or you go in those places, be safe, have a great holiday. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the other side, Lord willing. And so as you go through the week, just be a blessing to somebody. And, you know, that's the best I can say for that, because we are stronger together. It takes us all. It takes the whole community. And we are super grateful for all of y'all and everything that you do to support. Without y'all, we could do what we're doing. We just don't have nobody to talk to. Anyway, everybody that was in tonight, that was in chat, Mr. P behind the scenes, bro, everybody, good job. And have you all a blessed holiday. And as we always say here on the Farm to Table Direct Show, prepare for the unexpected and
keep it local.